Brandon put out a video fairly recently. Okay. And New Jersey's compatibility require background checks for your entire household. Really? Well, that kind of goes, okay. So Alex, that kind of goes to this. No, well, I don't know if it's the new me. It might be, rather. It might be. He put out a video a couple days ago that went like cook that said why we shouldn't abolish the ATF yet. So, yeah, this one. It is new one. So, let's take a look-see and see why he thinks we should not abolish the ATF yet.
Before you get your pitchforks out, just hear me out. I know with a title like that, no matter what I say in this video, the comments are going to be full of angry window lickers who are mad at me for this take because they don't have the attention span to listen to what the I am actually trying to say in this video. So to help with that,
Chat, leave your windows alone. No licking your windows. Let's actually listen. Let's hear Brandon out. Even though Brandon has said multiple times that he hates the ATF. But leave the windows alone. No licking the windows. The torches and the forks are fine for now. Keep the torches and forks, but leave the windows alone. The windows didn't do anything to the windows didn't do anything to you, McCargo. Leave them alone. Just leave them alone. Besides, it probably tastes like Windex.
Boom. Hopefully that helps. Now maybe Gen Z is paying attention. So to completely avoid any confusion, let me start with this. I believe in the Second Amendment.
Thank you,
Full
Haseo.
stop. No but anything. I believe gun laws are infringements, and I support abolishing the ATF. In fact, I have literally testified in congressional field hearings in favor of bills to end the
Okay. Can we all just appreciate and love the fact that he's wearing a fucking AR-15 pin on the lapel of his jacket? You know how all the politicians wear American flags? Is it an AK? It looks like an AR-15. That doesn't, it's a bad angle, I could be wrong. The first thing, because it looks like there's a top carry handle, I thought this might have been an AR-15. You're saying it's an AK? It could be. But, regardless, can we appreciate the fact that he is, okay, yeah, I thought it was an AR. Can we appreciate the fact that while all the politicians are wearing American flags, he's wearing a fucking AR-15 pin? I just want to point that out. That is fucking based.
The ATF. You will not find a much more staunch pro-gun person than me. But when it comes to abolishing the ATF, now that there's actually a bill in the House to do it, and it's gaining some momentum with an administration that's actually willing to consider it, I think we need to be smart about the way we do it. Because I fully believe we have a unique opportunity here to do something amazing to protect gun rights in America for generations to come. And frankly, I'm not sure when's the next time we'll have an opportunity to do this. I've been giving this a lot of thought lately since Trump took office, and that's why I'm asking you guys to just hear me out, keep an open mind, and then tell me whether or not you agree or disagree with me down in the comments. Also, if you can't tell by now, this is going to be one of those hardcore rant videos, so
cool.
I don't know, buckle the fuck up. So when people say they want to abolish the ATF, what they're probably thinking is a world where we do away with things like tax stamps. Nobody's enforcing things like the NFA so that, civilians can own suppressors and post-86 machine guns without SOTs or any of the stamps and stuff. Where we have more of this and less of this. And most importantly, a world where we don't have renegade bureaucrats in an unconstitutional agency snapping their fingers and deciding and declaring millions of law-abiding Americans felons overnight, like we've seen several times before with the arm brace rule or the 80% receiver rule. Well, here's the problem that I'm worried about. Those individual laws that the ATF is tasked with enforcing, things like the Gun Control Act of 1968, the National Firearms Act of 1934, or even the Brady Bill of 93. They were constitutionally passed bills that were voted on and passed in both the House and the Senate, and then moved on to the desk of the president where it was then signed. Do I think they're constitutional? No, absolutely not, and I hope they get challenged in court. But the fact is, currently, they are laws. All the ones I just listed, by the way, are what I think are the most egregious gun restrictions in the last 100 years. I didn't include the Clinton assault weapons ban of 94, but that's because that expired. And every single one of
I'm trying to remember. For the life of me, I'm drawing a blank what the Brady Bill did. The Brady Bill is the one that I've always heard of before. For the life of me, I'm drawing an absolute blank on what the fuck it does. Does anybody like a back to the envelope explanation? Okay, so it's the waiting period and background checks. Okay. Okay, so the Brady bill is regarding background checks. Well, why does Brandon doesn't like this because he believes with the Second Amendment that every person has the right to bear arms and that regardless, you should not be required to have a background check in order to own a firearm as per the Second Amendment. Oh God, I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah. Well, but I aren't the background checks actually run by your state police? What is found in the background check could disqualify depending on the state. Correct. And the other issue is that criteria is actually left up. Uh-huh. Okay, so the federal. Is it done by federal? Okay. Yeah, like they're not like they don't have a shit ton. Okay. But you can slice. Okay. So basically the Brady bill is flawed. The methodology with the Brady bill itself is flawed. Because there are ways you can cheese your way through the background check through the FBI. So, well, yeah, no, today, JRC, I think that is the counter argument that many people, rightly so, have, is that criminals don't bother going through background checks to get their firearms, so the average citizen is hamstrung because they have to, and they are stuck waiting and sometimes being rejected for the dumbest of fucking reasons, whereas the criminals don't bother with that. They just basically get their weapons illegally, and that is his legitimate argument of why the Brady bill sucks. So I get it.
One of them, I might add, were passed when Democrats were in power, which is one of the many reasons that when I hear people say, oh, Democrats or Republicans are just as bad on guns, it makes me want to put my head through a fucking wall. And before I hear anybody say, oh, but Ronald Reagan, the actor? What you're referring to is the Hughes Amendment, which was an amendment attached to a bill called the Firearm Owners Protection Act of 1986, which I think was a good bill, with the exception of one shitty provision attached called the Hughes Amendment, which was submitted by, you guessed it, Congressman William Hughes, a New Jersey Democrat. Anyhow, the reason I bring this up, let's say we can wave a magic wand and get rid of the ATF.
And I hope it happens.
Which, if it was...
Well, I think, and I could be mistaken about this, I think the big argument that people make about having, about a waiting period for purchasing a firearm, I think the issue that many people take is that you do have to wait and that you can get rejected for potentially bullshit reasons, whereas the criminals don't even bother going through background checks in the first place. They just purchase their guns illegally. So while the criminals are arming themselves, the proper United States citizens are unable to arm themselves in, as swiftly or as easily as a criminal can. And I believe that is the argument that people have in terms of the quote-unquote waiting period for a firearm, is that you have to wait, and that very often, and that I guess frequently you can be rejected for bullshit reasons. I think that is the primary reason why there is a serious objection to it. That's my suspicion, though. If I'm wrong, please, if someone in the chat knows why I might be wrong, or if if there's a fallacy in my logic, please tell me. But that's why I suspect people take such a hard issue with it.
Was ever going to happen, I feel like this next 2, possibly 4 years is the time to do it. I mean, hell, Trump even promised to fire ATF Director Stephen Dettelbach on day 1. Didn't get the chance, because Stephen Dettelbach actually resigned just days before Trump took office.
Oh, wow.
Good riddance.
Additional
Another in a
factors.
long
Fair enough,
line of
Tybo.
ATF directors with no actual knowledge of firearms. Not even the bare minimum knowledge of firearm technology or gunsmithing. Like one can learn from SDI.edu. But just to add insult to injury, as a retirement gift, his coworkers gave him an 80% AR lower, bragging about how untraceable it is.
So this does not need to be traced.
Okay.
This is after the guy spent the last few years trying to shut down businesses and throw law-abiding...
Wait. An 80... I'm not overly familiar with the terminology. What does 80% AR lower mean? That is it. That is Fred. That is terminology. A non-milled blower. Still confused. I'm not someone who knows gunsmithing, so I'm not sure. Okay, so it's unmilled low receiver with that holes drilled out, which means you can fit it into. You have to drill some hole yourself, and thus you can fit it into a variety of pieces. Okay. So no serial number. Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Percent AR lower.
Okay.
This is after the guy spent the last few years trying to shut down businesses and throw law-abiding citizens in jail for owning one. This is like the director of the DEA getting a fucking 8-ball of cocaine as a retirement gift, but yeah, whatever. So it's the beginning of 2025, and everybody's kind of looking for a fresh start. Maybe you're looking to eat better, hit the gym more, lose a little weight. I'm looking to do all three of those things. We all have bad habits you want to stop and good ones you want to start. This could be the year that you decide to get out of debt and stop being crushed by it. And that's why we're sponsored by our friends over at PDS Debt. If you're making monthly payments on your debt, but your balances aren't going down, PDS
That's okay,
might have a solution.
we have an ad.
Anyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt is qualified, and there's no minimum credit score. Bad and fair credit are both accepted. So you can save more and pay off your debt in just a fraction of the time. So make this the year that you take control of your debt.
But I think
so
Alan's point is you can very easily, with a modicum of skill,
it only takes 30 seconds.
Turn an unmilled blower into a...
Let's say we succeed and...
Yeah, I think the joke is that even like it would take very little smith work to take an unmilled blower and mill the holes into it to make it functional, but there's no serial number on it, so it's untraceable. I think that's the whole point.
Abolish the ATF. Those laws I mentioned earlier, the NFA, the GCA, all that. Those are still laws that are in effect. They don't go anywhere just because the agency currently tasked with enforcing them goes away. Which leads to this major point. If the ATF disappears tomorrow before the proper groundwork is laid, the responsibility of enforcing those laws goes into the hands of bigger, better funded agencies with more staff, such as the FBI or the Department of Justice.
Oh, not good.
The ATF already operates under the Department of Justice, the DOJ, so this is like the logical step. If you're not tracking yet, let me give you some scale for what that means. Think about how much you hear about the ATF harassing people, flashbanging families of gun owners in no-knock raids, going after mom-and-pop FFLs for paperwork errors, so on. Right now, the annual budget of the ATF is about $1.6 billion. Now let's compare that to the FBI, who has an annual operating budget of around $11 billion. And finally, the DOJ, which in total has about $38 billion. Do you see yet why I'm trying to bring attention to this? Now, the ATF currently employs about 5,200 people full-time. The FBI has 37,000. The DOJ, a whopping total of about 115,000. Are you starting to pick up what I am putting down here? If we're not smart about the way we do this, we put the enforcement of all current gun laws on the books in the hands of people who are better equipped and better funded to fuck with you. Which leads me to my second major point. If we had an actual pro-gun ATF director who's willing to tear that agency apart, we could have that organization ready to be dissolved in less than a year. And let me tell you some of the ways that can be done. By the way, this is not just one big pitch to put me in as ATF director. Although after I was nominated on RFK's website, I did say I was, and still am, serious about taking the position if it was ever offered. We did have some fun with it by using the Brandon Herrera for ATF t-shirts over at Bunker, really to do the opposite of what the ATF does, and we're raising money for no-kill dog shelters here in San Antonio. So if you want to check...
I remember him talking about that. Does anybody know, has there been any movement on... Have you heard of any movement on him being seriously looked at. And, like, I have no idea how serious of a look people have been looking at him for ATF director. Nothing as of yet. Okay. I was just curious if there had been any whispers or anything in the rumor mill other than the meme. The meme is all I know about it. He was talked to some I vaguely remember him mentioning something about talking to some Mar-a-Lago adjacent people. I do. But there's been nothing serious so far. Okay, well, who knows where it might lead? Probably, realistically speaking, it probably won't lead anywhere, but who the hell knows?
Check them out. Links are still in the description. Let's help some doggos. But the point being, this isn't about me. Not to be too crass about it, but frankly, I don't care who gets the position as long as they are rabidly pro-Second Amendment and are willing to go in and do what needs to be done. And if somehow the Trump transition team is listening, please keep some of these ideas in mind. If you want to know what the gun industry and gun community wants, it's this. This is the ultimate goal. The finals... The big plan. All jokes aside, though...
Whoops. That was almost a boo-boo. Yeah, he still hasn't lived that one down, has he? Well, there wasn't self-burn. That wasn't him in the background. That was Elon in the background, so...
Let's jump into it. First off, finally walk back any and all Obama and Biden-era ATF restrictions on arm braces, 80% receivers, forced reset triggers, all of it. This one is just a no-brainer and can literally be done day one with the right preparation. Now it's time to go on the offensive, something we rarely get to do in the gun rights world.
Is he going to talk about his
Let's
machine
look in
gun
the
one?
import-export space. Remember when the Obama administration labeled 5.45 ammo as armor-piercing pistol ammo? And then the price jumped up from 14 cents a round to 50 cents a round? Yeah, we go after stuff like that. Open back up the floodgates on imports. Make new determinations on what is demilled when it comes to parts kits. No more of the mandatory torch cut in 3 pieces bullshit. Back to single saw cuts like was allowed for decades. Target the sporting clause determinations and roll back stupid regulations that cause the issues, like, for example, banning the imports of the Beretta shotguns recently. Now, if you're not in the industry, all this stuff might sound kind of pedantic, but you have no idea how much stuff like this will help the firearm market. And more importantly, all of this can be done fairly quickly by putting the right people in charge of the ATF. All in the meantime...
Well, I mean, Revan, they have 5.7, so I guess maybe there is a 5.45 pistol caliber? I guess? I don't know, like, I mean, if they have 5.7, then I guess they have 5.45. Yeah, that didn't look like an AK-47 round, though. That doesn't look like an AK round, is it? Hang on.
Up from 14 cents a round to as armor. Remember when the Obama administration labeled 5.45 ammo as armor-piercing pistol ammo?
The shell casing looks it could be the angle. The shell casing looks too short. But you're saying it's the AK? Okay. I mean, I suppose you could throw this into a pistol. Okay. Where the hell did I leave off? Shit. Okay, I'll take a guess where I left off. PSM uses 5.4539. Maybe that's what this is.
Beretta shotguns recently. Now, if you're not in the industry, all this stuff might sound kind of pedantic, but you have no idea how much stuff like this will help the firearm.
Yeah, South pistols.
And
okay.
More importantly, all of this can be done fairly quickly by putting the right people in charge of the ATF. All in the meantime, any ATF agent that isn't currently working on anti-cartel, legit border operations, that sort of stuff, now has one mission: approving tax stamps and transfers. But now here comes probably my favorite part, and the one that I think will have the most permanent impact if it's done correctly. a new pro-gun ATF could actually work directly with gun policy groups such as FPC, NAGR, GOA, several of whom I actually consulted before making this video, by the way, and take cases where the ATF is being sued for overstepping and agree with them on record in court. I'll start telling them to sue the ATF over things like arresting someone over unlawful possession of suppressors or SBRs. Sue them on the grounds that because there's millions of those in circulation in the United States, they fall under the Supreme Court's definition of in common use and are therefore legally protected by the Second Amendment. Bingo. You have now just used the ATF and the courts to de facto legalize suppressors and SBRs. All sorts of stuff, really, just by using the very definitions
he was
laid
bringing
out
this up
already
before with
by
machine
the
guns.
Supreme Court, which, by the way, is currently stacked 6-3 pro-gun. The amount of legal precedent you could set here would take the anti-gun crowd decades to...
Yeah, Zeb, I would agree. Like taking it to court and proving it and basically doing a lawsuit on this matter would probably be that would absolutely be a very uphill battle, like a steep cliff uphill battle to facilitate the argument that suppressors are common use. You'd be extremely hard pressed for that. You can give it a shot. I mean, it's, you would need the perfect judge, you would need the perfect lawyer to argue it, and you would need the defense, or you would need the opposing counsel to basically be a moron. Because I would say it probably would not take much for opposing counsel to poke all kinds of holes in that suit to make it falter in front of a judge. His idea before, when he was talking about if he was director of ATF, where he would basically grant, he would I forget how he put it, but he put it in a way where she would essentially like grandfather in, or effectively speaking, make legal full auto weapons and suppressors, allowing people to an amnesty. That's right. He would do. I remember he was talking about doing an amnesty period for fully automatic and suppressors, and then if enough people went out and bought these during this like 90-day amnesty period that he as the ATF director would have the ability to do, if there were enough unpurchased records, then the argument could be made and it could be justified as, okay, common use, because you actually have quantifiable sales of these items that you can bring to, I don't know if it's to the courts or bring it before whatever governing body and say, here we go, we have quantifiable evidence, these classify now as everyday use. And so therefore, once the amnesty ends, they would be grandfathered into common use by the definition, backed up with sale evidence. That is something that probably would be more effective and easier to do than facilitating a court case like he's referencing. Congress has the policy and law. So what he was talking about before with the amnesty and then turning it into common use, that would sort of circumvent the Congress being the final say, because it wouldn't be repealing the law. It would be the ATF director working within the law, but doing so in a way that would allow these things to become classified as common use and therefore legal. And that way would be more, I think, sounds more effective than trying to basically just bulldog your way through Congress.
Try to undo. And these are just a few ideas. Believe me, I have pages of notes on this stuff. Specific regulations and restrictions that I think are a prime target. Once all that's done, the ATF director could easily just resign and ask President Trump's help to disband the agency entirely. To
Very
quote a
possible,
popular
Andrea.
piece of
Very
modern
possible.
media.
Watch the sunrise on a grateful universe.
But to move on before I make this a fucking 30-minute rant video, do I think this will happen? Well,
Nope.
I'm gonna be real with you, Chief. It's optimistic thinking. But I will say this is the goal that I think the gun community should be pushing for. What we need to be doing right now is urging Trump and the transition team to select a
True, baby
pro-Second
Jeebus.
Amendment ATF director. Again, I don't give a shit if it's me. I just want them to be rabidly pro-gun and willing to do the things necessary. I heard Blake Masters' name tossed in there. I supported him in his race. He would be an awesome pick as long as he's willing to do aggressive shit like this. On top of that, we need to continue to push our elected representatives to push for and vote yes on bills that will start rolling back some of these gun restrictions. If we can do both of those things, then abolishing the ATF might just be the beautiful future we all hoped it would be. Sorry if this video was a little bit of a break from the norm. I know some of you guys like it when I get more serious with this and do like actual legal breakdowns and stuff like that. Some of you fucking hate it. But I do think it's important to do every now and again, because there is that side of the gun community where, you know, if we want to continue to enjoy guns and we want to be able to pass that along for generations to come so our children's children enjoy the same freedoms
Well,
that we
Heckle,
do.
maybe you'll start going
This
around
stuff's
the Canada,
important.
Canada
And
starting
again, you
to
don't
go.
have to agree with me. If you disagree, I'm sure by now you've already let me know down in the comments. I'm sure the discourse there will be, well, it will be. But try to be polite, guys. We're all on the same side. We just might have different ideas on how to get there. Anyhow, I appreciate you watching to the end of the video. And as always, I will see you, well, in the next video. Thanks.
Fuel is my obsession to make the perfect weapon. Like Rasputin's rise to the top.
Frankly, I'm not sure the next time we'll have an opportunity quite like this. I don't know why that line was so hard. Didn't seem that bad.
Let's see. Let's look at some of the comments. Join the ATF, new and educational agency that teaches children how to responsibly handle alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. It's a thought. I'm not trying to tell you why I should be the ATF director makes the best possible case so far and why I should be. Actually, with this one, I think he made the best case possible for why he should be the ATF director in his I should be the next ATF director video. Speak quickly, AK man, the pitchfork hunkers. I'm a firearms enthusiast who lives in a ridiculously anti-gun state. We need peoples like you in official positions of power. Why did I even buy this pitchfork? I never get to use it. Okay, perfectly good discourse. Everybody's having perfectly nice discourses. Everybody's just making jokes. So, it's a good idea. It expounds further upon his other idea when it came to if he was the ATF director. So, the bottom line is, and like what Andrea said is right, is regardless of whatever direction anybody goes, there is the risk that when the pendulum swings the opposite direction, all the work will be undone. And that's a more intellectual problem. The more overarching problem is when neither side can come to an agreement on anything, and it's always a giant fucking pissing match. The whole concept of governing turns into a goddamn yo-yo, and the citizens are the ones that suffer because of it. So, well, Kaiba, I'll one up you. It's the problem of governing by party loyalty rather than what is best for the country, because that is what it is right now. The concept of governing on what is best for the country was lost a long time ago. And therein lies wrong. Because don't forget, the very gun laws that people have an issue with were enacted because of small-scale events that someone took and ran with some popularity. Don't forget that. A lot of these gun legislations that came to be happened because of a single or a small handful of incidents occurred that you had, parents screaming, do something, and instead of actually doing something intelligent, like maybe empowering the police to do their job, they instead say, let's just go overkill and hamstring the people when it comes to firearms. They did what politicians always do, and they grossly overcorrected in the opposite direction. So let's not forget about that. Yeah, well, Macias, apparently, I didn't see the video. Apparently, Idris Elba actually wants kitchen knives banned in the UK. Or something, or maybe he just said something incredibly stupid surrounding that. But there was like an article about him saying knives should be, like, even kitchen knives should be banned in the UK or some bullshit like that. Yeah. It's so fucking stupid. This is what happens when you let pure emotion facilitate governing, or when you stop caring about governing and just consider it a popularity contest.